essentially at that point you had like zero responsibility.
The moment is like when you see the money actually in the account, then you're like, oh, okay, this literally actually did happen. Selling a business is kind of like your kid moving off to college. It's like you've been fostering and growing this living thing basically, and then okay, it's time for you to go off and be on your own.
You're creating something of value and enticing the person who's buying it to stay motivated and excited to finally sign that check at the end of the deal. Are you ready to feel like it's Friday every day? I'm Mark Labriola II, and this is The Friday Habit. We interview experts to learn how to bring excitement, possibility, and sweet, sweet relief into every single day, no matter what day it is. If you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, or agency leader, get ready to grow your business, lead with purpose, and build a life you love. Welcome to The Friday Habit. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to another Friday Habit. And today we are back with our good buddy Ben Manley.
How's it going, Mark?
So good, dude.
Good to see your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you. Same to you. You know, you've been gray your entire, as long as I've known you.
Yeah, probably so. Just about.
I think you've had the benefit of looking 40 your whole, for the past decade.
I think it has been. Yeah, maybe at least the last 7 years. Yeah.
That you were pretty gray.
Yeah, it happened pretty quick. It was like, oh, hey, I'm getting a haircut. Like, hey, there's a little bit of like gray hairs in the hair that just got cut off my head, you know? And then like a year later, it's like, oh, that's mostly gray. Now it's like, oh, am I going to turn white next? You know?
And so we can just bust the myth that it's like, oh, stress gets you grays because, you know, you were turning gray. Know. Were you pretty stressed?
I mean, who knows? You know, it's all relative, right? I don't know. I'm sure I was stressed at times. I didn't feel that stressed. I wouldn't think that's really what did it. But yeah, I mean, I had times of stress. Who knows? Maybe it was stress.
Did your dad or mom go gray pretty young?
I guess my mom did a little bit, but not as young as me. Yeah.
Well, so. It's cool, man. It's distinguished.
Thank you.
I guess I bring that up just because I was thinking like, oh, I think your hair's grayer from like the last time I really noticed.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think it totally is.
I know. I keep getting gray in my beard, and my daughter Evelyn, she doesn't like it. She's like, it makes you look old. She's like, you should trim your beard. I'm like, no, that's like part of my style is my beard. But that's where I'm getting grays in the old beard.
Well, are you gonna dye it?
I don't know. I'm always torn on that because on one hand, I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. Like I'm going gray. I don't really care. You know.
Yeah.
I might dye it.
Yeah.
Like
have you
eat more healthy
just dyeing
and
all
like
of your hair gray?
working out. I might dye it.
Yeah. Oh, dye
but not diet.
Okay, I got it. Well, what if you just embrace the gray and make it consistent? Just dye it all gray, you know?
Oh, just like go platinum.
Yeah.
Join the Ben Club.
Yeah. Come on. Water's fine.
Well, yeah, but okay, so then the other thing I was thinking about is like, oh, okay, making videos and all this other kind of stuff. There's an element of like when people think I'm younger, they think I'm more like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, he's young, he's hip, he's on the cutting edge of technology.
Yeah.
But if they think like, oh, you're only like 10 years younger than me, like, what do you know?
So in your industry, the ageism is like reverse.
Yeah, it's like you want the young, hip, cool guy.
No, I guess it is. It's still
the same. It's the same. Yeah, it's ageism.
Yeah.
You know,
got it. Cool.
Anti-age.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. Okay, so we finished our last conversation with you talking about the process of growing your agency, and then kind of some of the things that you were surprised by, or like that you needed to prepare for. You know, during the sale, you know, kind of going into that sales process. And so I think it'd be beneficial and enjoyable for people if they kind of hear that next phase of the kind of the sales process, and then kind of life after the sale, and then I think it'd be helpful if we could even talk about structuring the deal and some of those things that went into that, because again, there's a lot of people out there that haven't thought about this or are now just thinking about this, and because you have just done this thing, selling your business, it's so fresh and you kind of learned a lot, and so I think it'd be a great take to really be able to capture your knowledge on this. So
yeah, that sounds great. And just speaking of gray hair, I mean, that's probably why my hair is more gray, because I will say the sales process definitely was stressful, and I can get into a little bit why and stuff like that. And it was, mostly my mindset and approach to it, I think, that made it stressful. But just it's naturally can be a stressful thing just because it's a big thing in life. Selling a business is something most people do only once, if they ever do it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things about that that's interesting is just there aren't that many people to talk to about it that will relate to the situation that you're in. I mean, you as another business owner and my friend, it was great to talk to you about it. It helped me get through that stuff, being able to talk to you about stuff.
Well, but yeah, I think there was an element of just that counseling where there was a lot of nervousness, even though there was like a verbal communication of like, yes, I'm going to buy the business. But then there was months of like, okay, we haven't signed a contract. We're still doing all this discovery. Like this deal could fall apart. And so it's like, you're making all these plans and doing all this stuff, but then there's this stress. To me, it almost feels like when you buy a home or looking to buy a home, you're really excited about it and you love the home. You've toured hundreds of homes and now you found the one. And then it's just like, oh, now there's concessions and now there's a negotiation of the price and you're stressed out about like, could this fall through and do I have to go back and look for another, home to buy? And it kind of felt a little bit like that.
Yeah, no, I would definitely liken it to that. It's just, there's not as much of a standard way to do it, I'd say, as buying a house. So that's another hard thing. It's like, there's not the go-to best practices that work. Cause homes, I know they're all different, but they're mostly similar in the process, are mostly the same when you buy and sell a house. Whereas when you buy and sell a business, you just structure the deals in so many different ways, and it's even more personal things. So I agree. It's like that times 5 or something, where it's like, okay, at least for me, that was my experience. But, so one of the things, I mean, I guess this relates to buying a home too. Like when you're buying a home, you really think about what do you really want out of it? What's going to be a good fit for you? And so when I was thinking about selling my business, I had to think about what kind of buyer am I looking for and what am I hoping to get out of this sales process? Could be, do I want to get maximum profit possible out of this? Basically the most money walk away. Is that my most important priority? Is my most important priority to leave a legacy and pick somebody that's going to run this business well into the future? Is it going to be priority to hire someone or to sell to someone who is going to take care of my team and do a good job with them? Is it is it something else? And it is kind of like the way I treated it is I thought about it in like, okay, I want to make sure it's somebody that I think will do a good job running Knapsack. And I want to make sure it's somebody that for the team members that would like to stay would have the option to stay. Right. And I didn't go with the highest bidder. I went with the company I thought, or the people that I thought would run it the best. So that was my priority. But I think everybody's different. And so to me, it's really important to know that going in, because I think you get easily distracted by all the different types of offers and different types of buyers, where it's like, okay, this one's cool because of this, and just knowing that ahead of time. And along with that, I think one of the pieces of advice that I read before I sold was, before you even start exploring evaluation of your business and all that kind of stuff, write down a number that you'd be happy with walking away. Like what amount of money would you be happy with if you were able to sell your business and feel satisfied that it was fair? And the recommendation is they're like, write it down and put it in an envelope and seal it. I didn't do that, but I did say it out loud to my wife. My wife and I talked about it. We just said, all right,
if I can at least get this.
Yes, exactly.
I'll be fine.
Exactly. And and the reason for that is like during the process, you might get a valuation that's super high, and then you might get offers super low, or it might be a little bit of a roller coaster of like what options you have and what you could make. And so it's easy to hear the very highest number and recalibrate your expectations to, oh, I heard that I could get this amount and it's really high, but then it's probably not going to be the highest number you hear in any situation. There's always going to be negotiation. It's going to drop in some way. And so just reminding yourself of what you would be satisfied with when you were first started this process was really helpful for me and my sanity. So I think that's something to think about.
Yeah. And it probably depends on where you are emotionally with the company too, right?
Yeah.
And you built Knapsack off of relationships that you had with other people, and you were very proud of the systems and the processes and like the company that you built. And so I can imagine if somebody was just like, I hate everybody I work with and I hate this company, I want to try to sell it for as much as I possibly can. And I don't really give a crap who buys it and how the people that I leave, like are treated. So
yeah, everybody has a different approach in a different situation. So I think there's like so many different ways to approach it, which is super interesting. And one thing I didn't really think about too much when I sold was timing. So timing is really important when you're selling a business because like the way it worked with the way my sales process worked was they measure trailing 12 months or TTM of like your gross income as well as like your profit and stuff like that. So it's always checking what did you do in the last 12 months, and the valuation, they keep checking that as you're going through the sales process. So you don't want your numbers to drop through the sales process, or your trailing 12 months is going to go down. And lots of times the value of a business is a multiple of that trailing 12 months. And so
so you don't want them like if you historically know that like, all right, in July people go on vacations and income dips, so you want to try to make sure that you're timing it so that you're like, hey, let's time it when we know everyone's in January, when everyone's excited to like make a new website and get their businesses off the ground. Like let's have the final evaluation happen in January.
Yes, exactly. And have like a little bit of a plan of, okay, how can we ramp up sales during the 6 months that when we're going through the sales process so that we're showing steady growth. Steady growth is good, or just staying even is fine too, but you don't want to see dips or see it going down, or that can become leverage for the buyer to say like, I don't know, this, doesn't seem, it could make them reasonably, it can make them, potentially concerned, or it could make them, even just say like, hey, maybe we can get a better deal on this because it's, we're not seeing steady growth. So that's definitely something to think about. On the more like personal side, I guess, or like the emotionally dealing with the sales process, I keep thinking about this, and I might have mentioned this on the last episode, but I think about selling a business as kind of like your kid moving off to college. It's like you've been fostering and growing this living thing basically, and then finally you're like, okay, it's time for you to go off and be on your own. Lots of times people get that like empty nest syndrome where you're like, okay, my kids are out of the house now, like now what do I do? And so to me, it was important for me to have something to look forward to working on after my business sells and start working on it during that process. So I actually started my other company, Site Club, before I even started selling Knapsack. We were traveling during the time, so that helped kind of keep my mind off of the sale. I think I might have obsessed about the sale even more if we weren't traveling. On one hand, traveling while I was selling was also more stressful because of internet issues sometimes. And so it made it a little crazy, but honestly, in some ways it was a blessing because I was in these interesting places and seeing these beautiful things, and it kind of would get my mind off it. So I wasn't always obsessing over how the sale's going. So I think for me, just having something to look forward to and think about while you're doing this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I remember when you were kind of even emotionally sunsetting from Knapsack and being like, all right, I think I'm going to sell this thing. And then you had this idea for Site Club, and you were like really excited and passionate about like, oh, let me design a little logo and do all this stuff. And you were sending me things like, what do you think about this? And whatnot. And so again, it kind of lessens that, heartache in some ways, right? When you're distracted by this new shiny thing that you're working on, this new idea, that it's like, ooh, let me pour energy and like brainstorm around this. And then it's like, all right, well, I can kind of get this other thing off my back so I can then focus on this new business idea right away. I mean, that makes sense to me as far as, especially for somebody who's built up a business and maybe they're kind of having a hard time letting it go, but they know that it's the right time and it's a good opportunity and all these other kind of things, trying to figure out like, okay, what's going to be next for me and what can I, focus my energy on to get excited about and start building so that it's not as hard to let this thing go.
Yeah, exactly. I feel fortunate in that I think I was ready emotionally to let it go. And I wasn't as tied to my identity as it was in the past. So I felt like the right time. Another thing I've thought about, that I think is really helpful is finding the right broker to work with if you're going to work with a broker, which for me is my first time. So it was worth paying the percentage to the broker to help me find a buyer and stuff like that. I think they were able to help me find somebody I wouldn't have found on my own for sure. And so,
you kind of went through a couple of brokers.
I did talk to a couple of different ones. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Talked to a couple of different ones, interviewed some different ones. And I felt like I really wanted to find somebody that understood that fits my personality and my goals, So there were some more corporate people I talked to, some people that were a little bit more like, okay, all about the financial side, which I definitely care about, it's important. But I found somebody that was like, okay, they seem to be more interested in finding the right fit person to run the business. And I kind of thought about that as like hiring, somebody to run the company. Like if I was going to hire a CEO, I'm almost asking these new buyers the same questions I would ask if I was going to hire somebody to run the company, because that's how I'm thinking about it, So anyway, finding the right broker I think is super important. And along with that, one thing I learned was like, no matter like how many professionals you have involved, in lawyers, brokers, whoever it is, like mistakes will be made, and that's just normal. And it's up to you to make sure you're checking all the details. Same thing like with a real estate transaction, buying houses and stuff. Pretty often, like I'll be looking through the paperwork, signing it. I'm like, this actually is not updated to the correct number, or like, what's this thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so same thing with a business transaction. It's like, you got to double check everything, no matter how good of a broker or lawyer you're working with. No one is going to care as much as you about the deal. So you have to double check everything and take responsibility for that, because otherwise, and not blame other people like, oh, they messed it up. Like, no, you need to take responsibility for it and double check everything. One thing I wish I had done differently, I think would have made me less stressed, and this is maybe just my personality, but I wish I had stayed in better touch with the buyers during the sales process and communicated with them more regularly. What we did is I think our broker had a great system where we would set up, we would send like a weekly update email to the buyers. So there was like a format we'd follow, like, hey, here's new things that happened in the business this week. So you can kind of see what's happening internally as we're working on the sales process. So kind of keeping them engaged and excited about buying the company and showing them what's going on. So they have transparency, so they can kind of keep a pulse on everything and get to know the business. But I think it would have been better, because it's so hard to read tone over email. So like when somebody asks you a question, I could be thinking like, oh man, they're super worried about this, but they were just asking.
They're really digging deep because they're really second guessing whether this is a good decision or not.
Yeah. And I'm like, they probably weren't. They probably just were really wanting to know if that gets into login information or something. Like what are they worried about? And so to me, I think it would have been way better if they were willing to do like a weekly call and give them updates on video, chat with them, get to know them better. I think it would have been a better way to build a relationship from the beginning, as well as give them updates. So next time I sell a business, I'll probably do a weekly update call with the buyers just to show them what's going on.
Now, but isn't that kind of risky in the fact that what if you build too good of a relationship and then they're always asking you, to help with the business, or they have at what point do you try to have a good relationship where it's like, yeah, this is still a business transaction, and I'm trying to get the best deal for myself, because they're also trying to get the best deal for themselves.
Sure. I think that can be done. My concern would be along with that. I think for me, both of us understand, okay, you're trying to get the best deal for you. I'm trying to get the best deal for me, but like we need to work cooperatively to make this smooth, you know? So I feel like that's okay. But I do think what I'd be worried about is like, how do I not make them dependent on me for training forever? You know what I mean? Like, how do you set expectations? Like, I'm not going to be helping you run the business in the future. This is going to be you.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that when we get to the deal structuring, but I definitely think you need to set some limits on how the training works. So we can get into that here in a second as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think that, you know, if you can, I would recommend not doing any other major life transitions while you're in the middle of selling a business, because it probably will be one of the biggest, most stressful things that you do. I'm not trying to scare people, at least trying to set expectations.
Yeah.
Like, I think it can go really well, but it's just, it feels high stakes. At least it did for me, you know, since I spent about, you know, over 10 years, probably about 11 years building this business. So it felt high stakes, selling that business. Because I wanted it, to be the right people, and I want to make sure everything went through and all that. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend trying to move in the middle of that or something else, because I think it's just like, it'd be good to be able to focus on that as long as you have enough good positive distractions to keep your mind occupied with other stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so as far as like structuring the deal, I would say the time period for training is important, I think. So what I did for handing off the business is I created one single document, like a Google Doc basically, that covered all the different aspects of the business. So I had a little section that talked about marketing. I had a section that talked about sales, one that talked about the project process, hiring employees, company culture, all that kind of stuff, all in one document. And then it would have a little description of each of those things. And then I would have basically a list of like, okay, here's all the processes related to marketing, like sending out emails. This is where you find information about that. And then I would link to the places where that information is. So I just wanted them to have one document that's like a manual for the whole company, right? So I already had these systems in different places, like in Asana or maybe in Dropbox or in Content Snare or whatever. They're all over the place. But I wanted them to be able to see one overview of everything. So that's why I summarized it in one document. And then they were able to see, okay, marketing, what if we want to do advertising? What's the process for that? And they can go see a little description. And then the ones that were appropriate, I would record a little Loom video for, and then show them where in Asana it is and link over to it, etc. So some of them recorded little Loom training videos for and stuff like that. But I think that made it way smoother. I think first of all, it makes your business more valuable because people can see like, wow, this is super organized, and I'm going to be able to run this because I can just follow this guide if I need to do something, and I can know how it was done.
The SOP.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, it's just, to me, I think having it in one location is just super helpful, and linking to anything else so you aren't searching for things everywhere. It's like a one central hub for everything.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you want to make your business very enticing, right? You want it like the seller to look at this thing and capture the vision of like, oh wow, like this thing is doing X, Y, and Z income, you know, each year. We can buy this, take it over, and then have it still do X, Y, and Z. And so if you can kind of paint that picture and create it an easy enough transition and make it as smooth as possible, it's again, right? You're creating something of value and enticing the person who's buying it to stay motivated and excited to finally sign that check at the end of the deal.
Yeah. You basically, to me, it's like, what would you want if you were a buyer? You know, you would want to know really clearly what everything is, how to do it, and just know like, all right, this is going to be easy for me to run if I have these guides and this stuff I could do. Because also it's going to help them train new employees. There's all kinds of good benefits to that. But one other good thing about creating that document is that you can use that to decrease their reliance on you for the training period. So basically, let's say if we do a deal, what I would recommend doing is specify how many months you're going to be doing training. I would recommend like 90 days. It depends on the business, obviously, but if you have things pretty well systemized, I think 90 days should be plenty of time for you to train them. So that's the time limit I would set. And then I would set how many hours total that they have access to you during that time. So you could say, okay, I'll do 120 hours over 90 days or whatever it is. And then they expire at the end of that time, maybe a max of X amount per week. So you don't get overloaded one week randomly or something. But I think that's good because then they have a bank of hours that they can pull from. In my experience, it was very, sometimes be like, okay, they have time to do training right now, so let's do a lot of training. And then it's like, okay, they're busy running things. Cool. This week we're not going to do much. And my buyers were very independent, so we didn't use all the hours that we had allotted. And
they felt like they got like the information
plenty.
they needed from you, and it was like, okay, like I'm good.
Yeah, and I think part of that was because I had everything organized well, and systems were places, so they were actually able to find the stuff they needed. And I also think they were just very courteous buyers as well. I think they were very, respectful of my time, which I really appreciated as well. So I think we both had, the good thing is I think we both were looking out for each other's interests in the process. I think making sure you trust the new buyers is important, and that they care about your interests and you care about theirs and vice versa. I think that makes it way less stressful, and I think you'll have a good long-term relationship with them because of that.
Yeah.
So that's the time management part. I'd say the other thing about, and you'll probably hear this a lot of places, but don't rely on earnouts with selling your business. There's a couple of reasons for that. Basically, you don't want to sell your business and be like, okay, I'll get 50% now, and then I get the other 50% if my business does X amount per year. Mm-hmm. If you do that, the thing is, it may sound reasonable now, but you really have very little control after the business is sold, even if you're involved a little bit. So they may not make the decisions you would make, and the business may not do as well as you expect after you sell it. And so I would just recommend anything that you do want to do as an earnout, just assume that you're not getting that money. Just assume
So it's
like whatever you
almost
get
like-
up front is all you're getting.
Yeah, so it goes back to your earlier statement of like getting that number in your head. And so if hopefully you can get that earn out as that number in your head, and then obviously if they come back and say, oh yeah, this is worth $300,000 more than that number in your head, then you can be a little bit more like negotiable of like, okay, well then I can do that extra 300,000 as an earn out over a 3-year period.
Yeah.
Because then if the company does fail, and you're like, well, we can't give you any money if we're not making any money, then at that point, you'd either have to like pursue some sort of legal action, which would suck and be time consuming and horrible, or you would just be at peace like, well, I got the number that I had in my head and I can just move on with my life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, if possible, I think it's okay to get like a seller's note where you get paid over time, but not contingent on the performance of the business. You know what I mean? So you could do something like that where they have a little bit of a payment plan for part of it. But I would try to get like, if it's me, I want to get at least 80 or 90% up front, then maybe like a seller's note for a little bit after that. So that's some stuff to think about with structuring the deal. And as far as like valuation and stuff like that goes with smaller businesses, a lot of it is based on what is it called?
EBITDA?
Not EBITDA. It's like that. What is it called? It's something discretionary earnings. Is that owner's discretionary?
Come on, Ben. You have 30 seconds to remember what it's called.
It's SDE. Yeah.
All right, good job.
So sellers' discretionary earnings are basically like how much money that you... Did we cover this in the last podcast? Did we talk about SDE?
I don't think we did.
Okay. Because I feel like this is important in the sales process, not just structuring the deal. But anyway, we can talk about it now. Basically, SDE is like how much money you walk away with as the business owner when you're running the company. So at the end of the year, did you get some life insurance paid for by the company? Did you get some health insurance?
Oh, I think we did cover a little bit of this in the very beginning of last episode.
So anyway, for a lot of these smaller deals, it's based on SDE instead of EBITDA, and it's just kind of like, okay, how much value are you as a seller getting out of this business each year? And then
because if you say you have some business in Italy and you decide to bring your family along, and you're using some funds to do that because they're going to be helping you carry gear or something like that, that's part of the money that is going in and providing for your lifestyle. Yeah,
exactly. So that would be part of the SDE, and so that's kind of how some of that stuff is calculated. So so basically, just keeping in mind that it's going to be probably based on STE for a lot of these smaller deals. It's just something to consider as you're structuring the deal. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much on the structure.
That's the structure. Oh, wow, that's enough. I mean, you gave everybody the gold of like what to look out for, what to be satisfied with, all these things. So in my mind, you covered it all. So, and again, does it feel like you learned a lot during this process? Do you think you'd change anything going into structuring a deal with, another company you sell?
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned this before as well, but I think I would have an admin person helping me with like organizing a lot of the stuff through the sales process, like somebody either inside the company or outside that's doing a lot of the structuring of stuff. It just was a lot of legwork to do while I was also running the company and starting the other business. So it'd be nice to have somebody could help with the administrative stuff of organizing all the documents and going and tracking down a lot of the software licenses and stuff like that. I think that would have freed up some time, which would have been nice. I think I would have done a little bit of better job timing when I did the sale and have a plan for growth leading up to that. So if I had planned, okay, I'm going to sell in 3 years and I want to slowly grow, each year until then, and then sell and have a plan for keeping that steady or growing, I think I would have done that differently. I might have also tried to grow some more recurring revenue before selling. We had some recurring revenue, but the more recurring revenue, the better if you have subscriptions and stuff, because that's going to be valued at a higher percentage of or multiple of your STE. So, those are a few things I'd say I would do a little differently. But overall, I mean, I think it's just once you've done it once, you just at least kind of know what to look out for. So I think next time it would be hard, but I think it'd be like half as hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Going through it once makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think there's still that emotional element that never changes. Same thing with buying a house, right? The first time you do it, there's a learning curve and you're like never experienced this process. You're confused on a lot of stuff. But then the second time you do it, I feel like, you learn a little bit more, you understand a little bit more, but there's still that emotional element to it that doesn't go away, that you're still stressed about and constantly calling your agent, like, did they respond to our counter offer, yet? And all that kind of stuff. So that makes sense.
For sure.
And so then what? So then that's it. You dust off your hands and you're like, it's no longer mine. So I want to talk the timeline real quick. You started thinking about selling the business in 2023, and then early 2024 started the process.
Yeah. Like February, I guess, started the process.
Yep.
And then finished it by October. So it was pretty quick.
Yeah. So October,
overall.
but during that time, you decided to take your family on a world trekking tour.
Yeah.
So that was in July. Didn't you just tell us not to plan any major things?
Yes,
while selling
did.
Your business.
It's from learned experience. But like I said, I wouldn't honestly change that. I really wouldn't. Sometimes it's like too many things happen at once in your life, but I wouldn't trade any of them because, you just never know when you'll have a chance to do something like that.
Right.
So it's like, it was worth the overlap, even though it was stressful at times.
Yeah. Now, did you plan the trip knowing that you were selling the business? Like, all right, we're going to sell the business. So like, let's do this trip. Like, this is a kind of a once in a lifetime kind of thing. We're going to homeschool the kids and like go out and do this thing. Or was it something, we planned this a year or two ago. We wanted to do this and
they
we're
both
still
evolved. They kind of evolved at the same time, but they almost weren't even really related. Like it was Hannah's idea to do the world tour, the travel, the trip around the world. Like we literally,
around the world in 180 days,
dude. Yeah. It was like, I try to remember how many days. I think it was like 304 days. It was almost exactly 10 months.
Wow.
But yeah, we basically went, Europe. We basically kept going east until we got all the way back home. But anyways, what was the question?
The question, I guess the question was, did you have the trip
were they
plan?
related? Yeah. Yeah, not really. I think Hannah started planning the trip and thinking about this idea, and I was like, okay, this sounds amazing. And I was already kind of starting the process of selling, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think I could probably get this sold. It might be able to be even sold before we leave. Like there's sometimes it's like, okay, you could maybe sell in like 3 months or whatever. And I was like, it seems like it's pushing it, but hey, let's just try it and see. And I talked to my broker and stuff, and I was like, hey, we might be doing this trip. Is that still going to be doable? It's like, yeah, no problem. Which, I mean, really everything they were remote anyways,
Right.
and my buyers were also remote. So it was like, didn't matter.
It's not like
if
you
I
need
was
to
local.
physically be somewhere to like sign a paper
Exactly.
in a boardroom somewhere.
100%. Yeah. So it was like, it really wasn't about where we were. It was just about how busy my life was when we were traveling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure there was an element of like, okay, you couldn't be as present as you wanted to be because you got an email or a text message, and then you're kind of like stressing a little bit, thinking about, man, when can I get somewhere with some internet so I can like respond to this thing?
Yes, exactly. Or I need to find a printer to print this thing and sign it because they actually need a wet ink signature or whatever. I literally, it was in this little town in Spain, and I had to drive to this little, basically like a little convenience store and buy a printer, drive it back so I could like print out some stuff and sign it. It was like, what am I doing right now? The road kept getting flooded out by the river, so I was like driving the Jeep to go get, a printer. I was like, what is my life right now?
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think it worked out well. So I could have traveled with knapsack running. I mean, that's the fortunate thing about how knapsack was set up, is that I did get to do the summer trip we did for a couple of months, and the business kept running, and basically it was running on its own for a little over a year before I sold it. And so because of that, we were already kind of thinking about a trip at some point, so we could have done it whether I sold or didn't sell, which is fortunate. But it just happened to coincide. It just took longer than I thought to sell it, which, looking back is like kind of obvious, that would happen.
Right.
But yeah, so we ended up wrapping it up in October. So we'd already been, let's see, July, August, September. So we had been on the road for traveling for about 4 months, I guess, when
once you sign that final paid, was just like a burden just lifted off your shoulders. Like the fact that you could wake up and not even think about, do I have to check my email to see if you essentially at that point you had like zero responsibility just to focus on hanging out with your family. And
almost, it felt like
other
that
than you started another company and you had to like make sure you keep those clients happy.
Well, that wasn't even the worry. So this is actually interesting to talk about, because really, so what the moment is like when you see the money actually in the account, then you're like, oh, okay, this literally actually did happen. Like something didn't go wrong. Like, okay, I actually see it in my account and it's really here. I remember the night that happened in Spain. We were in this little town called Oria, and we were just hanging out with some of our new friends we made there, like having drinks or something like that. And I just remember walking outside and sitting down, and I was like, Hannah was there. I was like, gave her like a thumbs up, and I was like, I just felt like I could just finally like relax for the first time in like 6 months. It was like, it was so nice. Now the next stage though is like, to me, I feel very responsible for the success of the company, even after I sell it, even though I know it's really up to them now, it's their company. I still feel as a person some responsibility to make them successful during that training period.
Right.
So I still had 3 months of training to do with them, which is
okay.
November, December, January. I think that was, I don't remember the exact amount of time, but something like that. And so, I think that was right. Anyway, sorry, I can't remember the exact time period at this point, but basically I had a certain amount of time there, and then a certain number of hours. And then basically we would, jump on a call every once in a while and do some training, but they were very considerate of my time, which I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to make myself available, make sure that I was helping them as much as I could. So there was times when we started going further and further east, and I'm like, oh, this time zone stuff is getting crazy. Eventually we're like in South Korea, and I'm like meeting with them at 2 a.m. and I'm like, I don't like this at all. Thailand was rough. Like I'd be getting up for like, to work with them from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and then go back to bed, stuff like that, where I was like, I regret this. So it wasn't like over at that point, because I still feel this responsibility. But then when the training was over, that was like when I really felt, it was 2 stages of relief. It was, the sale actually going through, and then the training being over. And I was like, wow, made it. I made it through.
I survived.
I'm still alive.
Yeah. did some sake bombs and just celebrated.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that was definitely some of the more memorable moments there as we were traveling, was just like some of that stuff happening.
What was it like as far as you get a big chunk of change, and what's your immediate thought? I mean, your personality, just because we know each other so well, it's like, I know for you, it wasn't like, oh, now I can just relax and just go, sit on a beach somewhere. I mean, first of all, you've already started another company before you had sold the one that that you're selling. And so for me, what went through your brain as far as you get the big chunk of change, I guess it relieves some stress of hey, I guess I don't have to super stress about finances at this particular time. But you're kind of already thinking about all right, in order to make a decent income, I need to grow this business to be a certain amount,
Yeah.
Right away you started thinking about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know if that's healthy or not, but that's the way my brain works. I was basically thinking, okay, I'm going to sell this, and I want to use basically anything we're not using for our travels. I want to invest this money and not spend it, and I want to use that to generate more income, Yeah. So, and mostly, in stock market investments and things like that. Not all, but a lot of that. So my goal is okay, I'm not going to probably ever, or maybe until I sell another business, get a chunk of money like this. So if I can put this away, let it make interest for the next 20, 30 years, we're set, in that way. So, and I'd rather not take the income from the investments, because I'd rather reinvest that, so that the compound interest occurs and all that. So I did feel, and I do now even feel pressure to, okay, I need to grow my income now to replace what I was making with Knapsack, so that I'm not going backwards every month. So right now, I don't make as much money as I did running Knapsack, or even close, because I'm starting a new business. New business takes a little while to get off the ground sometimes. So we've decreased, kind of lowered our standard of living for a little while, cancel a lot of things that we're not using, and just decide, okay, for this year, while I'm growing Site Club, we're going to kind of scale back. I mean, I even considered stuff we have a very inexpensive home. Well, I don't know if you ever got to see that one, but
I saw the rental property that your mother-in-law lives in, and then your main home.
Yeah, a little brick ranch, about, I think I want to say the upstairs is maybe 1,000 square feet, something like that. But I'm man, we could just move into that and, still rent the basement to my mother-in-law, and we'd literally be living completely free in a home, and then I don't have to make as much. I was like, huh, should I do that and live off the interest from investments? We could do that. So yeah, my mind goes to many different places. That's one thing. I'm okay, what's the minimum we actually need, and what could I live off?
And then your wife's hey, we're not in college anymore, and
well, the funny thing is, Hannah's more on board with that than me. Almost.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. She's she's really cool. She would be hey, yeah, we could do that. We could simplify, if, we want to do that for a while. I think honestly, she is also a fan of smaller houses too, because you just have less to clean, less overhead and all that, which makes sense. So anyways, my mind went there, okay, we could do that. But for me, I do really well when I have some type of structure and some type of goal I'm working on. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of the whole thing. Some people don't do well with retirement if they don't have something interesting they're working on, and they just kind of fade away. I could feel myself man, if I'm not working on something, I think I'm just gonna I'm not as happy when I'm not building something, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I was I just felt okay, I want to do this, and plus I'm 39, I can't give up yet. I got plenty more stuff to do.
Yeah. And it wasn't screw you kind of money, where it was just now I'm just going to focus on philanthropy.
Yeah, exactly. So it was life-changing, but not, it's not I'm never going to work again or anything like that. So, if I moved to, Costa Rica or something, maybe that would work.
That'd be a different story. Yeah.
Yeah. But, probably not in the US. But yeah, so I think for me, and right now I'm just spending like I with Knapsack, because I focused so hard on building one thing for so long, and I got distracted by other stuff. I built, story site, and some other projects along the way, fixed up some houses and stuff. But I think I was so focused on that, and it worked really well for me. But I feel like right now is a time for me to explore different things. That's why I'm like volunteering to be a scoutmaster in my son's troop for the next few years. Buying some land and building some cabins on it. Working on some rental properties with my wife. So I'm doing all that. Plus I'm doing Site Club. I'm working on my, online masterclass stuff. And for me, it's like, it's kind of crazy to do this many things at once for me, because I do really well when I'm focused, but I think I need time to like explore things for a while and see what catches my interest, because I've been so focused for so long. And then I think I'll something will catch, and I'll be like, okay, this is the next thing that I'm super interested in. And then I can build that,
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense too, as far as like burnout and all sorts of other things, where it's like you give yourself a breather to step back, kind of assess the landscape to see where you're at. And then, like you said, once you feel like, oh, you know what? I want to be a full-time like expert and trainer on Squarespace and travel and teach people, blah, blah, blah. Like, because right now you have the luxury of being like, well, I don't have to do anything technically.
Right. Yeah.
And now that it's like, it's this thing of, okay, well, you know how to sell a business, you know what goes into it. And so now it's like, all right, well, let me just think about what's the next thing going to be. And then once I figure that out, grow that thing up to then sell it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I remember like when I was doing it, I was like, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. Then as soon as I was done, I was like, I had like this list of things. Yeah, I was like, made this list of things I would do differently. I was like, man, if I did it different, I bet it wouldn't be quite so bad the second time. So yeah, glutton for punishment, I guess. But I think I could do better. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I could do better next time.
Yeah. Well, we're here for it, dude. I'm excited to just see what you come up with next, because I know it's going to be awesome, and fruitful. So we'll definitely have to continue have you come back and share what you're into and what you're up to, or what you're learning, all that. So, but yeah, so you kind of mentioned a few of those things as far as what you're up to now. Do you want to go into depth and maybe share a little bit about how people can kind of connect in those different ways with you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, my main, thing I'm working on right now is Site Club, siteclub.co. It's basically a web design company. We do, basically you just pay monthly and your website is going to be good. That's all you have to think about. So basically it's like $400 right now. The current pricing is $480 per month, gives you up to 7-page website, includes the design of the website, the building of it. And then the cool thing is it's as many updates as you need over time. We do strategy calls with you, all that kind of stuff. So basically it's like working with an expert that's on your team and is always going to be managing your site for you. So you can get new pages on it, new updates, all that stuff. You can add on more pages if you need them for additional fee. And then you can also basically, once you've been a member with Site Club for 3 years, you get a full redesign. So it's intended to be a full solution that keeps your website evolving and growing with your business. And I'm really excited about it, because I think it solves a problem a lot of businesses have that they don't think about, which is a lot of times they buy a website and it's more of a depreciating asset than an appreciating asset, because they're not actually evolving the website with their business. So
right.
That's why I'm excited about Site Club. I think it's to be great. Then I'm taking all the stuff I'm learning with Site Club and Knapsack and Story Site and all the Squarespace businesses I built, and I'm putting all that into my courses at benjaminmanley.com. Right now I have a Squarespace web design course there, and that's all about like creating custom looking Squarespace sites. I'm working on a new course that's going to be all about building a web design business, and how to systemize it, how to do sales, how to run projects, and a lot of the tricks that I used at Knapsack and Site Club and Story Site and stuff like that. I think that's going to be really helpful for people that are trying to run a web design business. And then other than that, I don't really have anything public for the land that we're building on. I don't know if we're going to be selling those or renting them or anything yet, but I'll keep you posted on that one.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm just so happy and proud of you, man, and thankful for you. And it's just awesome to see just your life unfold over the past.
Unravel.
Unfold is more graceful and beautiful.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. But so I'll be excited just to continue to hear from you and have you back on the show. We got to keep it rolling consistently, have you come back every once in a while and update us on that.
We'll do it.
And if people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way? I mean, you're not that active on social.
Nope. I think my last post on Instagram is from like 10 years ago. I have traveled, I have plenty of cool photos. I should just put them up there at some point, but I would say, there is no way.
Okay, yeah, unless you want to get hello@sightclub.com.
You just go to benjaminmanley.com and you can you can contact
all
me
the
through
things
that website.
are there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool, man. So then if you could leave our audience with one thing that they could focus on starting next week.
No, I'm not prepared. This was my idea. An actionable takeaway.
For our actionable takeaway this week, what is the one thing that you would say, and I guess pertaining to this episode, it would be, what is the one thing that they could focus on starting next week to build a better business? Or build a sellable business. I
would read Built to Sell.
Okay.
Yep, read that
That's
book.
a good one. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much for being with us. And thank you for listening to The Friday Habit. If you go to thefridayhabit.com, you can find show notes for this episode. You can also find links to our websites and ways to get in touch. And at the bottom of the page, you can download our Friday Habit system. That's going to show you how to set aside one full day each week to dedicate working on your business instead of always in your business. You can reach us at hello@thefridayhabit.com if you got any questions or a guest suggestion. And remember, until next time, live every day like it's Friday.